If you like this video, please subscribe. Thank you. This presentation is about writing research grant proposals and how to organize this grant proposal overall. The basics about writing a research grant proposal first requires that you have some knowledge in a specific life science or other areas, and you have the latest up-to-date information in that area that you are proposing to do research in. You also need an inspiration in the form of a question that if answered will result in further additional information or result in solutions and applications derived from your research proposal. And thirdly, you need to address the fact, is your research proposed doable? Is it feasible with the available resources to you? To create a successful research grant proposal, you essentially need a plan. And a plan is a step-by-step roadmap of how you will accomplish your research. This will include at least 4 distinct items. The first one is a clear and concise list of specific aims or questions to be addressed by your research. The second one is a strategy for addressing those questions, including specific methodology to be utilized. And third, you need an alternative strategy to address some of these questions should your initial strategy fail. And fourth, you need to address the resources available to you in terms of the feasibility of your research. This should include identifying the available physical resources that can be used, also projecting the cost of performing the research, and thirdly, third item of resources, identifying personnel that will conduct the research. In general, research proposals can be organized by creating 6 distinct sections. The first section is specific aims, the second one is background and significance, the third one is preliminary studies, the fourth one is experimental design, the fifth one is literature cited, and the sixth one is appendices. The first section of the grant proposal is specific aims. This is by far the most important section of the entire grant proposal. It is sometimes referred to as the money page, meaning that if your specific aims are clear and concise, they make your proposal more likely to be funded. The specific aims section should be limited to 1 page and should be limited to 1 to 3 specific aims. Sometimes these specific aims can be presented in the form of a question, a clear a very specific and concise question. The second section of the grant proposal is background and significance, and this should include an introduction to the general area of research you are addressing. It should also include a survey of the latest and most recent literature and background in that specific area. And thirdly, it should include a discussion of the significance of the proposed studies and how it will increase the knowledge base or how it might lead to new applications as an outcome of this research. And fourthly, a summary or some kind of a model can be proposed at the end of this section. The third section of the grant proposal is designated preliminary studies, and this should include presentation of any pertinent data from the investigator's lab that supports the research proposal at hand. This data should be displayed in a concise and clear fashion, such as tables, graphs, and figures. It also serves to illustrate the skills and techniques available to the investigator in their lab. And in this section, one can include any recent publications relevant to this particular research proposal or any manuscripts in preparation. The fourth section of the grant proposal is experimental design. In many ways, this may be the second most important section after specific aims, because it will address the specific experiments and methods used to answer some of the questions proposed under specific aims. It should be organized sequentially by the specific aims proposed and should include a detailed description of proposed experiments, including rationale for the experiment, design of the experiment, anticipated results from the experiment, and alternative strategies to address the specific aims should the proposed experimental design not yield any meaningful results. The fifth section of the grant proposal should include the literature cited throughout the grant, specifically in background and significance. This should include the title of the citation, author's date and journal name and page number. The sixth section of the grant proposal is appendices. Appendices should include relevant publications or manuscript in preparation from your lab, any detailed experimental protocols that are too long to include in the body of the grant, any letters of collaboration from other investigators or scientists that provide some expertise not available in your lab, and other documents in the appendices could be relevant to lab space, equipment available, and personnel available to perform the research. The finishing touches of the grant proposal is all about attention to details. It should include first a critical reading of the finished final grant proposal by an expert in the field. hopefully a friend or a colleague. This is extremely important to ensure that there aren't any knowledge gaps or experimental design issues in the grant. A second important component of the finishing touches is a thorough editorial fine-tooth combing of the entire grant to make sure you don't have any typos or any wrong citations and so on. This is very important because a sloppy or careless grant proposal could indicate a sloppy or careless performance of the research in the lab. Producing a coherent research proposal requires time, so allow yourself at least 3 to 6 months of preparation. And finally, it is important to establish linkage and continuity throughout the 6 sections of the grant by linking various sections. For example, you can link the specific aim with experimental design. So you can mention how an experiment will address a specific aim question, or you can link an experimental design to the model you propose in your grant in the background and significant section. So you finish your grant and you submit it. There is a likelihood that your first attempt for funding of your research proposal may not be successful. So be prepared for 3 things that start with the R letter: rejection, revision, and resubmission. The best way to deal with the rejection of a grant proposal is to 1. Address some of the critiques given to you by the reviewers and specifically make changes in the grant proposal to address those critiques. 2. Include any additional new information that was not present in the original proposal that could support your hypothesis or your research plan. Resubmission of a grant addressing specific critiques enhances the chances of a grant being funded the second or third time around. Creating a successful research grant proposal is dependent on several factors. 1. A clear and focused proposal. 2. Having a sound plan to implement it. 3. A methodical approach to accomplish that plan. Having the adequate resources to implement that plan. And most of all, the flexibility to change that plan as need be to address your specific aims. If you like this video, please subscribe. Thank you.